asking. Corey, I'm going to put you on the spot right away here and get right to our question of the day. I mean, you heard my introduction. Not a fan here of the Republicans' alternative to Obamacare, their repeal replace bill. How can the Trump administration defend this after Donald Trump spent 15 months on the campaign trail promising over and over and over that Obamacare was a disaster and that if we elected him to office, he'd repeal it fully?
Well, there's no question that Obamacare, as it was originally written, was a complete disaster. And what we know is that the premiums in a number of states have gone up over 100%. The insurers who are actually providing coverage have withdrawn because it's no longer affordable. So what the president has laid out and what his administration has laid out is the first step of looking at Obamacare and redoing that plan so that it's actually much more affordable. People have better coverage, but you're no longer mandating people to get coverage. Now, is the bill a perfect bill? Absolutely not. Does it need a lot of work? It sure does. Does the House Freedom Caucus have a majority of people saying right now that they're not going to support the legislation unless there are significant changes? You bet it does. What that means is you have a president in office who's the greatest negotiator our country has ever seen. And what that means is what the bill has started on and what it will finish like are two very different things. We also know 4 Republican U.S. senators have said that they can't support the bill. If that is the case, the bill is absolutely doomed and will not move forward. The president has said, and his administration has said, they are going to get this bill done at all costs. They are 100% supporting this bill. So now it's up to them to come up to meet with Congress. I saw that Mike Pence was on the Hill today. HHS Secretary Price was on the Hill today, working with those congressional leaders to draft, to make changes to the legislation so that first it can get past the House of Representatives, then it can go to the Senate. It can pass the Senate before it gets to the president's desk. My guess is that this bill is going to look completely different when it reaches the president's desk than when it starts at today.
And I mean, I certainly hope so. I think it has many, many flaws. And this is not a commentary on whether I think Obamacare worked or whether we should keep it. I certainly think it's a disaster, and I think we should repeal it fully. But this bill, I mean, I don't understand why Republicans even introduced it in this form if this isn't going to be the form that it ends up in, because perception is reality to a lot of Americans, to people even like myself who are highly tuned into politics here. You introduce this bill. I mean, the subsidies are what made Obamacare unsustainable financially here. And in this repeal bill that the Republicans have suggested, they just changed the name of the subsidies. The subsidies are still there. They're just tax credits, even for people who don't pay taxes, up to $14,000. Corey, does the president understand that that's not sustainable financially?
Well, he absolutely does. And what we also have to understand is that, there are members of Congress who are saying that's a binary choice. It's either all or nothing. That's absolutely not the case. What we know is that there's opportunities here to continue to change this bill. The House Freedom Caucus, the conservative members of the U.S. Senate have said this bill doesn't go far enough to repeal it. There's been members like Jim Jordan and David Brad who stood up and said we need to change this bill before we support it. And I think it's incumbent now on the administration to work with those Republican leaders first in the House, then ultimately in the Senate, to craft a bill which is both palatable and covers as many people as possible, but does not force coverage on people. That's a very important distinction. You should not, as the federal government, force people to buy health care. That's one of the major components of this bill, which is removing the mandate from Obama to purchase health care if you don't want to do so, because that is something that has driven the cost up. Now, at the end of the day, this administration has to work with Congress, both houses, to get a bill onto the president's desk, which does repeal and replace Obamacare so that everybody who wants health care coverage can have it, but isn't forced to buy so on the government exchange.
Right, and I guess that distills my question down to this. Why the rush here? I mean, this is a pretty big undertaking. Republicans have had 8 years. They should have had a plan already created here, but accepting for a moment the fact that they don't have a good plan here, why the rush? Why not wait until they can come up with a plan that encompasses both things, that'll make healthcare sustainable, affordable, not forcing people to be on or to purchase something that they don't want, but not just playing this sort of politics? Because from where I sit, it seems like Republicans on the Hill are afraid that Democrats are going to point the finger of blame at them and say, you're the reason that this 14 million or 24 million people, whatever it is, scored by the CBO, that they're going to be the ones that are blamed for people losing their coverage. Why don't they wait until they can get it right?
Well, what I think is that this administration is an administration that moves very quickly. We're in the first 60 days of the administration. They want to make sure that they can get as much done as quickly as possible. And what I think that you'll see is that, everything is a negotiation, which means the president has put the bill forward, his administration has put the bill forward, and they're going to negotiate back and forth on the pieces which are most important to the president, which is making sure that people are no longer forced to buy health care coverage. That's a very important thing. We also understand that the Democrats have talked about being obstructionists. What they've talked about is closing the government, not moving this bill forward. If that's what they want to do, they're welcome to do that. but the president is going to follow through on his campaign promises, which is to repeal and replace Obamacare so that individuals are no longer required to pay a penalty if they don't want to buy health insurance from the exchange. That's very, very important. Now, again, is it a perfect bill? Of course it's not. Is the bill going to look very differently when it reaches the president's desk? I'm sure it is. What that looks like, I don't know, but I can tell you the ongoing negotiations between Mike Pence and Secretary Price on Capitol Hill, which took place today, are going to get us a step closer to making sure that the people who want coverage have it without having that mandate in front of them.
Right, and certainly that's ideal. Like I said, this bill is in and of itself better than Obamacare here, but I guess I don't see the part of the bill that would cause premiums to go down. Like you mentioned, I mean, 25% premium increases on average for everybody across the country. In Arizona, just last year, they went up by 116%. That's not affordable. That's certainly not affordable. Deductibles are even higher. So what part of this bill in its current form, or perhaps these things will be negotiated away, but they seem very large things to me, these tax credits, the state exchanges that are still going to be in place, the $100 billion fund meant essentially to bail out insurance companies. What part of this bill is going to make people's premiums go down?
Well, it's a great question. And look, I think the part, and I've been very candid about this, where this administration has missed an opportunity is giving people the opportunity to buy health insurance across state lines. If you were to do that, if you were to open up that opportunity, you'd have more people competing for your business. You would have more individuals who would have the opportunity to buy health care from New Hampshire or Nevada or Nebraska or whatever they may be. Look, this notion that we can only buy health insurance from the individuals that are providing it in our state is a complete fallacy. That's part of the problem. That's why premiums are so high. We have to get rid of these exchanges. We have to get rid of these lines, these false lines around states that say you can't buy health insurance across state lines. Once you've done that, and I hope at the end of the day when this bill is finalized, that is a provision of the bill which moves forward, which is you can buy your health insurance from any carrier across any state so that you can have a better deal. If that is the case, you'll have more competition of lower costs. I think it's a great negotiating tool that hopefully they will utilize moving forward.
Right, and certainly that competition I think would drive the prices down, but I don't think that it can drive them down totally if we still have all these subsidies. Corey, I appreciate you coming on the show. It's always great to talk to you.